Hey, welcome to our show. I'm Dr. Latifat. I'm the host of the MonyfiMD show. This is where we talk about all things money and mindset because I truly believe that when we pair these two things together, it is pretty much impossible for us to not create wealth. So I hope you enjoy the show. Make sure you learn, make sure you take actions, and make sure you share the link to the show with all the humans in your life so that we can all start to do wealth together from the inside out. Enjoy this episode. Hey guys, welcome to another episode with Dr. Latifat. If you are new to my world, I'm so excited that you're here. We are at the end of the year when I'm recording this. So a lot of the episodes that I'm recording are really how you can end the year with a bang and how you can start 2024 already positioning yourself for success. So I'm super excited that you found us. The episode that I have today is not going to be any different in terms of like the fabulosity of it, if that makes sense. So I'm super duper excited even thinking about what I'm going to be sharing with you guys because guys, here's my commitment to you. My commitment is to share the good stuff with you and not just like nonsense fluff, which there's nothing wrong with all of that, like at the right place, right time. But my goal is that you will listen to this podcast and be changed and be transformed. My goal is that you would learn the things that you need to do, start growing, start making moves so that we can help you grow your wealth even to a deeper level, to a bigger level, really. Because when I think about what we're doing inside of the Money School, I see the women physicians that are joining us and I see the stuff that they're doing within 12 months of being with us, within 2 years of being with us. I'm just like, women physicians are positioned and have the capacity to build wealth. The only problem is that nobody's teaching us how. Nobody's teaching us how in a language that makes sense, and nobody's teaching us how in a way that's efficient for our lives, because y'all know we all got to be efficient. If it ain't efficient, you ain't talking to us. So the episode that I'm talking to you guys about today, or what I'm talking to you about today, is something that literally has the power to change all of your 2024. Okay? And it's how to invest powerfully in 2024. And that starts by stopping the fear that's associated with investing. So I will tell you that there are times when people come into our community and some people have already hit like their 6-figure financial net worth before they even come into our community. But they're like, I know that I have the capacity for more. I know that I can build more. I know that I can embody wealth. I can feel more financial peace. And so for each person that comes into our program, their goals are different. And we have some people that come into our program that are like, Latifat, I'm just new to money. I haven't done anything. I'm afraid of moving. But I know that it's time for me to do something, right? So we also have those people. So we make sure that what they do, what they get is in alignment to the goal that they have for themselves, right? But one thing that I found to be inevitably true when I look at all the people that joined us, for example, in 2023, I'm looking at the level of how they've changed, how they've invested. So whether they came in not investing at all and now are like, Latifah, within like 3 months, I'm buying my first passive income opportunity. Or maybe they came in and they wanted to do active and it was not happening, but now they're able to do their first passive. Or maybe they've been doing like multiple passives before, but now they're able to turn on the volume, increase the volume of investing in themselves, whether that's like through investing in an income producing asset, or they're investing in themselves through investing in their brain, investing in their time through delegation, enjoying the quality of their lives. What I found to be inevitably true is that when women come into our community, they increase the wealth of their life. There are some of them that just joined this year, and so the seeds that they're planting, we already see how it's changing things. But then I know that when we're looking in 2 years, in 3 years, in 4 years, and 5 years, the impact is going to be even more. Because the thing with investment is if you're looking at the short term, you can see part of your return on investment, but it's really in the long term that you really get to see the impact. So right now I'm recording this for you guys in 2023, and I'm thinking about the things that I invested in like 2020, 2021, 2022, and I've already seen the return on my investment, but I also know that the more time away from that investment, the more the magnitude of the benefits of the return on my investment is, right? So I get excited when I think about what returns this women already have within joining us, like the first couple of months of even joining us. But then I also know that 4 years from now, 5 years from now, it's going to be crazy. And we have people in our community that have been there for like, I think we started officially like with the money school as it is right now about 2 or 2.5 years ago. And we have people that have been there since day one that are still showing up for the calls, listening to the replay, because they keep changing what they're doing, like their goals. Maybe when they joined us, it was like, I want to pay off debt. And now it's like, they bought their first investment. Now they're buying their next investment. Now they're taking a sabbatical. And it's literally like I feel like a family medicine doctor, right? Where it's like, okay, you started when they were 12, but now they're like 18 and now they're like 24. And their goals are different, right? Their goals are growing, they're changing. And I get excited about that. So anyway, but the way that we've accomplished that is not by over obsessing with budgeting. It's by, for lack of a better term, over obsessing with assets. And when I say over obsessing, I talk about over obsessing in terms of like our focus, having our focus be on investing, because ultimately investing is what builds wealth. I'm just telling you all the truth. Investing is what builds wealth. So I can tell what your chance, what your rate, what your velocity to wealth is going to be based on not just like how much you invest in, but your intentionality with investing. The more intentional you are about investing, the more likely you are going to be to accomplish the wealth goals of your life. And when I say the wealth goals of your life, I'm talking about not just your personal finance, but in your giving, in your assets, in your rest, in your time, in your relationship, and all the other arms that I describe when it comes to wealth. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this episode for you guys is I want to make sure that as we're positioning yourself into 2024, you are clear about how you're investing. You like take off the jacket of like crap that clouds your brain, that prevents you from actually playing in the ring, instead of like doing what we're doing with like budgeting and all those little conversations that really is like child's play, to be honest with you. And there's nothing wrong with budgeting. There's nothing wrong with having a spending plan. I have those, right? But I don't want our obsession. Like when you obsess with that, all you get is pride in budgeting. But when you obsess with like buying assets, when that's your vision, when that's everything falls in play, everything falls into place. Right? So anyways, one of my biggest slogans is, and you will hear the women in my money school, those are listening to my podcast, like Latifah, is about assets. Yes, because I'm like, you're an asset. I want you to buy assets. That's what it's about. So I want to share with you guys 5 or 6 things actually. So 6 things that I believe is going to be really, really important for you when it comes to getting over the fear of investing. And I just want you to know that if you have the fear of investing, you're a normal person. Like I remember the first time I invested, I'm not going to count medical school, but that was our biggest investment. But a lot of times we don't think about that. We didn't think about the money because we're focused on the ROI, and I'm going to return on investment. And I'm going to mention that in a little bit. But when I think about the first time I invested actively, in my brain, it was like $18,000 in 2020. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Before that, I invested in a real estate course for like, I think it was $3,000. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is money that I could be spending or saving towards buying the actual real estate investment. But what I did not think about was that if I did not invest in that real estate, it would have taken me way longer to be able to buy the number of doors that we now bought, to be able to have the cash flow that we get, that has now been able to like help us with making the decision to travel the way that we have been for the last 10 months, right? And so when I think about the $3,000 I invested and the return on investment in our lives now, 3 years, 4 years later, amazing. When I think about the $18K I invested, it was hard to pay it. I was like, oh my goodness, wow, $18K for 4 months? Like literally, that's what I was like, $18,000 for 4 freaking months? Who does that? Apparently, I do that. But I will tell you guys, I would not be here talking to y'all on this podcast if I did not invest in that $18,000. If I did not give that $18,000 to my future self, I would have spent the $18,000 anyway. I would have spent it on something anyway, and I would not have the things that I get to have, the opportunities I get to have, the resources, the platform, the impact, and all that stuff. So it's very, really important as we're positioning to 2024 that you start thinking investment. And Latifat says, invest, start where you are, invest, start where you are, invest, start where you are. Latifat says, don't wait until you make. Start investing. You don't have more. You don't invest because you have money. You have money because you invest. I'm telling y'all, it's so important. If you can flip that switch in your brain, I promise you, you will have more money. Okay? So I want to talk about the fears, 6 fears that I believe, 6 things that I believe is going to help you when you're thinking about how to overcome the fear of investing. And again, you could be new to investing, you could be seasoned. I literally invested $18K in something that we wanted recently, and I paused on it. I was like, okay, let me think about this. So what I'm telling y'all is what I go through when I'm investing. When we're buying properties, I'm not like, oh, where can I put the next $100,000 in cash? No, I'm thinking about this stuff too. So I want you to start to have these conversations with yourself so that 2024, we're not having the same childish conversations we had in 2023, although I'm happy to have them again. But I want you to move on to a next level, because wisdom does not happen with age. Wisdom happens if you're learning the lessons that come from being alive for a long time. So are you learning the lessons? Are you getting wiser? Or are you just aging without wisdom? When it comes to money, I want you to age with wisdom, like fine wine, like fabulous. Sorry, y'all. I know I'm kind of crazy. I'm a touch crazy. So let's talk about the things. Number 1 is this. One of the things that I found when it comes to investing is that the fear of investing is also associated with scarcity. Okay? What do I mean by scarcity? If you're thinking about investing, part of the reason why we may not be as easy to release the money is we're if I let go of this money, I'm going to run out of money. Because if I asked you a question, if I guaranteed you that if you let go of that money, you wouldn't feel any different and your income you would still have the same amount that you had at the end of the day, would that make it easier for you to invest? You would say, yes, absolutely, yes. So the key is the fear of investment is related to the fact that you have some scarcity thoughts of if I invest, I'm going to have less. Right? When the thought that actually helps you invest is, when I invest, I have more. It may not be in the short term, but when I look in the 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, am I going to have more? And when I say more, I'm not just talking about money only, depending on what you invest in. And if you invest in a relationship coach, in counseling, in therapy, right? Am I going to have more of life? Am I going to have more of quality of relationships? Am I going to have more confidence? Am I going to have more money? So if you're investing in a property, if you're investing in the stock market, am I going to have more money in that, right? Do you get what I mean? Am I going to have more wealth, more peace of mind, more life, more time if I invest in delegation, if I invest in paying for childcare? Do you see what I mean? And not just minimum required childcare, but childcare that actually helps you breathe and have time to do things like take action, rest, hang out with your girlfriends, live life, be able to spend the time that you actually have connecting with your kids. That's what I mean by time, right? So keep that in mind. So the fear of investment is also associated with scarcity, because you're not thinking about what you are getting. You're thinking investing is going to give me less, when investment actually gives you more. So the question you want to ask yourself is, how does this give me more? In the short term and also in the long term. Yes, when I'm buying a property, I'm literally emptying out my account of multiple 5 figures, multiple 6 figures, right? And you can see how that can feel like I'm letting go of money. But I know that money likes going. Money likes leaving, because when it leaves, what it does is that it brings me friends and cousins and all that. It brings more money through my assets that I now have, which is not going to be in my bank account, but I can monitor that based on personal capital and some other resources and tools that are out there, right? So just keep that in mind. Scarcity affects your ability to invest. And scarcity, though, only begets more scarcity. Abundance brings in more abundance, right? You cannot have an orange that bears an apple. Oranges will bear more oranges. So scarcity, more scarcity, abundance, more abundance. That's why it looks like people that are givers have. People that are generous have. People that are give more. If you want to have more, give more. And not just in terms of quantity or your time, but in terms of quality, right? And that's something that's a standard that I set for myself when it comes to even my podcast, in terms of making sure I give you guys the good stuff. So that if you spend 20 minutes here, you get in value that's more than an hour or 2 hours you'd spend somewhere else. That's part of how I give you guys value. So keep that in mind. So number 1 is that. Number two, I kind of mentioned this a little bit, but it's zooming out. So when I talk about scarcity, it's not just scarcity in terms of money, but number two is scarcity in terms of time. Zoom out, right? If you're looking at only your bank account right at this moment and you're like, oh my God, I'm broke, I don't have, that thought is not going to help you actually have. So what you need to do is like zoom out and ask yourself 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 3 months from now, is this going to actually give me more? And not just in terms of money, but also in other things. Like when I think about when people zoom out, when they join us, what they're getting is they're not only getting more money, which they get more money in terms of like cash in their account, even though they've paid us, they actually have more cash within a couple of months. They're paying off debt faster than before. High interest debt, even though I'm not like hammering on debt payoff, but that's the consequence of focusing on assets, is you actually pay off debt, believe it or not. They do things like have more time with their family, more intimacy with their partners. They are able to grow their business more. They give more. They're more generous. They enjoy their work more because now they start to go to a place of having more peace of mind and having more, knowing that they have more options. One of the women physicians that joined us earlier this year shared how when she joined us, she was feeling burnt out, stuck. Like, this cannot be as good as it gets. I feel really stuck in life. I'm burnt out. I'm a hardworking badass and all that stuff. And now just months later, she spoke this word and said, the world is my oyster. Imagine that. Right? What is the return on that investment, right? So for her, that took her a few months. I want to say maybe about 6 months to get to that point. So she's doing her financial stuff. She's taking care of her. And if you're listening, you know who you are. Big shout out to you. She listens to almost all my podcasts, by the way. She's listening to this probably, but she's investing in stuff. And she's recently was able to invest in her first passive income outside of the stock market, which is pretty powerful within 6 months of joining us. She's went to our first retreat, and I cannot wait for the stuff that 2024 has in store for her because it's going to be powerful. She's going to be sharing on my podcast at some point, but I cannot wait for you all to hear her story. It's remarkable, right? But that's the importance of zooming out. So number two is zooming out and not allowing the scarcity of time and what you focus in on, like one piece of the puzzle, which is what your bank account shows at the moment where you're making that investment, or what your credit card balance shows at the moment where you're making that investment. But zooming out and thinking about 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and making sure you're thinking about the abundance of the things that you get in return. So that's number two. Number three is the return on the investment. And I know I'm spelling this out because these are the things you have to focus on. Think about it as your glasses, right? Imagine having like 7 glasses on your table where you're trying to see your investment through different lens. The first lens is the one that leads to fear. That's the one you've had before. So in order for you to be able to invest differently, invest better, if we say that investment is how you build wealth and have the freedom of your life, then it's important for you to learn how to invest. And not just learn how to invest, but actually invest, right? So now what I'm doing is removing those glasses and putting on different specs. So the first spec to put on was getting out of scarcity, right? The second one we put on is zooming out, right? The next one we're putting on is now the return on investment. What's your ROI? When you invest in the stock market, the ROI in general that people talk about is, S&P 500. That's what they're comparing the returns to. But also like 10% is the number that's thrown around, 8 to 10%. So most times when people are thinking about what to invest in, it's comparing that with as almost like what's it called? I forget that word that we use in science. Almost like a control. That's what it is, control, right? So when I'm investing, I'm using that as my control. And I want to make sure too that it's important to think about the tangibles and the non-tangibles. So it's not every single thing that's going to give you return in dollars. Some of it is going to give you return in like things that you can choose to put dollar on, to like your confidence, your peace of mind, your relationship, time with your family. Like what's the price point? It's like to infinity and beyond, right? So I always think about the return on investment, not just for my people only, but even when I invest. So when I'm investing in a coach, what's the return on my investment in the things that I want? Again, don't think about just dollars only, think about everything else. If I'm investing in real estate, I think about the same thing. And so when people are investing with me, they invest in their money, they invest in their time through joining our community. Like you guys are investing your time with the podcast. So I'm thinking about the return on your own investment. Like how does you listening to this give you more time, give you more wealth, give you more joy, less burnout, more options in life, more diversifying, and all those other stuff. So when people join my program, to join us inside of the Money School at the time of recording this for 12 months is $10K if people pay one time, or if they want to do a monthly payment plan is $997. So for me, when I'm thinking about their return on investment, I'm thinking about what their return on investment is on what they're paying. And I actually asked one of our docs who was in our community when our price point was even lower. I think it was like $5K when she joined. So if you're thinking about joining, better get on the wagon because inflation is happening everywhere, right? So the more serious, and I remember asking her, she invested $5K. I don't remember how much she invested. I think it was $5K or $7,500, something like that. But anyways, and her return on investment at that time was about 200 and something thousand at that time. And I asked her on camera without even like asking her beforehand. And she said, I've gotten, this investment has helped me have maybe like 200 or so $1,000 more at that time, a year and a half ago. So now imagine what it could be now. It's probably like $500,000 or more. And I see her taking vacations as a primary care doctor, spending time with her family, investing in herself, in her wealth, diversifying her spouse's business and all this other stuff. So I'm sure by now the return on her investment is way more than 500K, but you get what I mean? Like the focus on return on investment is how you're going to think about investing. I will give you another specific example. With my business, I do Facebook ads, right? And sometimes I'm like, oh, damn, Mark Zuckerberg just sitting down, taking my money, right? As if he's not providing me value in exchange for it. But when I think about what's the return on investment on my Facebook ads, right? It makes me focus more on what I'm getting as value as opposed to what I'm giving only, right? So again, different frame point, ROI. That's the next glasses I need to put on. Okay. So the other one that I want you to put on is those glasses of seeing the consequences of you not investing. Can you succeed, grow wealth, build wealth without investing? Yes, you can, but it's going to take a really, really slow process. And most likely it's going to take you extending your time for money. And because we only have 24 hours in a day, and I don't recommend you work for 24 hours in a day, it means that you're putting a ceiling to what you can earn based on you not investing. And when I say investing, it could be in skills, it could be in community, it could be investing in a tangible assets, it could be investing in the stock market. There are ways you can save money to wealth, but it's just going to be a really, really, really slow process, and you're going to be extending your time for the money, which affects how you're able to spend your time on other things, because then you're not going to have those other time to be able to spend on things that add value to your life. So the glasses that I want you to think of is just the impact of seeing the impact of not investing. When you're not investing, it's like taking a bicycle from California to New York, or you could get on a flight and shorten the time to get there so that you can actually spend time enjoying the relationships there. So that's the other glasses I want you to think about. Is not investing, is taking the slow path to where you want to get to. And hopefully you're alive by the time you get there, because, there's water and things like that and people and stuff, animals on the way there. You'll get my point. So that's the other point that I want to make sure. But in order for you to be able to get past the fear, those things that I've talked about will help. But I'm also going to share two things that I believe will help. One is surrounding yourself with people and coaches that are able to objectively challenge you and help you not lean into scarcity or lean into fear, but help you think about the next version of yourself that you're trying to be. They remind you of where you're trying to go. They remind you of what you have to gain, not what you have to lose. They remind you of the benefit, but they can also look in your blind spots and tell you about the risk. But they're not telling you that from the perspective of fear-based stuff, but more from like absolute good-based stuff. So like, for example, when I'm coaching women in my program and they're talking about investing in things that I may not be investing in, this is what I'm doing. I'm coaching them. I'm asking questions about those investments to make sure like there's safety to the best of our ability. And that's why the women that come in our program invest more and differently because they have that community through not just our members, but also through access to coaching with me inside of our group, right? So surrounding yourself with people that are going to help challenge you. In fact, we had a woman physician who joined our community about 5 or so months ago. And when she was talking about how she wanted to invest this year, she mentioned what she wanted to invest in, how much she wanted to invest in. By the time we were done evaluating, what she ended up investing was 5 times that, right? In a tangible asset. So you can imagine if she's investing 5 times that, what that means is that she's expediting her own path to success, right? She's expediting her own path to growing her net worth. She's expediting her own path to building her own passive investment, which means that she's expediting her own path to freedom. Does that make sense? All because she surrounded herself with the coaching that she needed to be able to challenge her with kindness, but also look at the blind spots for her and question her own limiting beliefs as well. Okay. And then the last one is talking over with friends or peers as well. And this part you have to be careful about because you just don't want to talk to anybody about this, because if you talk to people that are anchored in your past, all you're going to get are people that are going to highlight the fears, the limiting beliefs, and keep you in the past. If you talk to people that are like-minded, that are moving in similar position, maybe doing different things, but have people that quote unquote you would be happy to exchange your own finances or their life with for a microsecond or for minutes or a day, just theoretical. I love my life. I don't want to switch with anybody, but you get my point. If your finances are not, and where you're going is not where I would want to go, even on a bad day, you're not the person that I should be getting advice on investment on, right? If you imagine if someone has only ever invested $5,000 in an asset ever, should you be talking to them about the $100,000 investment you want to make? Or do you want to talk to someone that has made $100,000, that's made $200,000, that's made $300,000, but also has the result that you're trying to create? Does that make sense? I know I'm going a little bit slowly because I want to make sure that you guys get this. Because this, I would call it this 6 glasses or frames that I've shared are going to be so important as we go into 2024. So feel free to save this episode so that anytime you're thinking about investment, whether that's in the money school, whether it's in an asset of another asset class, whether it's in your education, whether it's in a community, it's in a skill, whatever it is, you bring this back, you listen to it, and you can now have an objective way of looking at the investment you want to make. And if it does not meet this criteria, then don't do it. It's literally as simple as that. If it does not meet this criteria, then don't do it. But I want you to save this. I want you to share it with other women physicians, and I want you to make sure you're using this for yourself as well. If you have liked this episode, I would love it if you could leave us a review on whatever platform, and it's super duper easy. It takes you 30 seconds. Just go to the bottom, click the score. I like 5 stars, and I love you. I love you, and I love 5 stars. And if you want to tell me the episode that you liked the most, that spoke with you or spoke to you and what you liked about it, I would love to hear that. Just FYI, for people that do podcasts, this is our labor of love. But the way you can say thank you is by leaving us reviews, because that's how other people that need this information can also find us. And remember, I'm here not just for me. I love you, but I'm not here just for you only. I'm here for the women, for the movement of women physicians, when now we have a culture of women investing in themselves, women building wealth, women having assets, women being well, women no longer being afraid to be in their own power, in their own strength. That's what I'm here for. And that's how we're going to change medicine. That's how we're going to change the world. So thank you so much for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next episode. And remember, if you want to check out our money school, there's a link that we put in here below that you can go check out so that you can submit the form to declare that you are interested. We'll get on a call with you, myself or a member of our team. We'll get on a call with you, and we can help you learn how you can join our next cohort of women physicians that are doing 2024 in a way that they've never done before. I love you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.